Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am Josh Samuel, a gentleman who many refer to as Mr. Unpopular Opinion, the guy who, if he didn't believe it, he wouldn't say it, but he would still say it anyway, even if it's not true, because he believes in the truth. And I am joined today by Brother Jordan Ross, the filmmaking king, and Brother Fran, the YouTube and gift king, and soon to be birthday man on tomorrow. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to get right into it. Brother Fran, man, how does it feel, man, to see 21? And happy early born day, bro.
Thanks, man. I mean, it's so weird because in dates like this, you're like, oh, you can kind of think of what has happened in the last year, and you're like, so much stuff has happened in 1 year. Like not only on my personal life, but for example, with Zack Snyder. Like
Yeah.
1 year ago today, I think there wasn't like any exclusive photo or whatever that he posted, but on July he posted the Wonder Woman beheading Steppenwolf. Like right now, you talk to any Snyder fan and you're like, oh, did you know that Wonder Woman, beheads Steppenwolf? And they're like, yeah, duh. Like we've been known this, but if you think about it, it's only been 1 year. It's been like 8 months since November 17th or 9 months. It's like everything has happened so fast. And
Yeah.
it's kind of non-believable. Everything has lined up so perfectly that you're like, this can't be true. I mean, there's a lot of fucked up things going in the world right now, but regarding the Snyder Cut, what we've done in the last year,
Mhm.
it's incredible. I mean, if you try to explain it to any person outside of the movement, what has happened and the importance of the events that have happened in just 1 year, I don't think that they will believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And yeah, I'm gonna try not to get sentimental, man, but man, I just really want to take this time to say every time you've collaborated with me on a video, every time we've had discussions in private, whether that be Twitter or elsewhere, man, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you for always being there, being a friend, being a brother, and just seeing your growth, whether it's making these gifts or just, personally, it's just really been a beautiful thing, man. And I'm just glad that, God, whoever, Zeus, whoever in the DC universe out there just sent me you to, be a friend and a brother to me. And I just really appreciate it, man. So from the bottom of my heart, man, thank you.
Hey, listen, I feel the same way. I'm really glad and I'm really lucky to have met amazing guys like you to talk about this stuff. Not
Absolutely.
only not only in the personal level, like personal things that we might have talked about, but like when you kind of see the state of the fandoms and people's being so stupid and so hateful on social
Mhm.
media, it doesn't matter what fandom you're part of, but to have met two guys that are passionate about it, but also have kind of common sense, which is really lacking these days. It's amazing, man. I'm really fortunate. I really am.
Yeah, yeah. Brother Jordan, man, how are you feeling on Saturday, June the 20th, 2020, man?
Pretty good, pretty good. Kind of like Fran, and I'm sure you are. I'm just every day in terms of the fandom. I'm constantly amazed about how far we've come,
Mm-hmm.
and just how how big a journey we've all taken. Not just as individuals, but together. Because I think maybe the first time we all collaborated, it was maybe 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half. I can't even remember how long ago it was, but it feels like forever. And it's
Yeah,
just so incredible that the three of us in particular, have been able to kind of fight side by side and use our voices side by side and speak on this together and work for the cut. And
yeah,
it's I think in the chaos and terrible things that have been happening this year, I think the Snyder cut and our fandom is kind of the one thing that's like kept me going, giving me optimism, giving me hope. giving me a kind of something positive amidst, among all this craziness that's going on. So thank you guys for being there for me.
Yeah, likewise, man. Likewise. And with that said, brother Fran, brother Joy, man, it's been exactly 1 month today since Zack Snyder's Justice League was officially announced. And man, aside from days like November 17th, 2019, aside from other days, that was a day that we thought and we were told A, it would never happen. B, it was a pipe dream. C, you're crazy if you think Warner Brothers is going to spend that much money on releasing a movie that quote unquote doesn't exist. D, why are they fighting for this cut? E, they need to shut up. F, just all this negativity. And in spite of all of that, we persevered, we overcame, we fought, we believed, we stood up for what was right. And Zack Snyder always remained true to himself and gave us something to believe in continuously. And finally, the announcement was made on Vero. Brother Fran, man, how does it feel, man? 1 month later.
Well, I mean, I've posted this a couple of times on Twitter, but I am not kidding when I say that I'm coming to terms with the fact that we are getting this movie. Like, that might seem stupid because they're like, there's been an announcement, of course the movie's coming, but to really understand what that means and what that implies, like, because we are like, oh yeah, we got the movie and it's all good and this and that, but you settle down for a moment and you're like, we are going to see 3.5 hours or more of things that we've never seen before and things that we've been fighting to see for 3 years.
Yeah.
From personally our favorite filmmaker, from our favorite characters, with, I mean, it's something that it's kind of difficult to get into because it's not like, oh yeah, we're going to see the movie and that's it. Like, for example, the teaser that they released 2 days ago, that thing was 30 seconds, and when you watch it, you're like, we've never seen this before. Like, this is real. Like, we are going to see 3.5 hours of this. I don't know, it feels surreal. I mean, it still feels kind of surreal that we are watching footage from the Snyder Cut. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't feel real. But I'm gladly happy that it doesn't feel real, but it is. I'm really happy that it is.
Yeah, same. Brother Joy, man, after everything we've been through, the ups, the downs, the fighting, the finger pointing, seeing these crazy and often inaccurate headlines in regards to the Snyder Cut, we finally know that Zack Snyder's Justice League will live on. And it's been 1 month exactly today since Zack himself officially announced it. Man, how does it feel, man? What does it feel like?
Oh man, it feels so amazing. And like Fran, like I'm still like, I have to pinch myself every day. Like, am I dreaming? Did I really did I imagine that? Did that really happen? Because it seemed like such an impossibility for such a long time that to finally get it just feels unreal and feels bizarre. And, I think a moment that really, probably hit everybody was like the other day when he posted that 30-second teaser. And it wasn't even, we had seen screenshots from that scene before, but, this is the first time we've ever seen that footage. And that music and the editing and just kind of everything that was in that little teaser was just perfect, and it made me realize, like, oh my gosh, we're actually getting it. And of course that's next year, but then this year we got supposedly more trailers and more advertisements for the movie, more hype for the movie. So we're probably going to get a full trailer by the end of the summer. So that's super exciting. That's something whenever you search Snyder Cut trailer online, for the longest time it was always fan edits from like like fan people in the fandom who really want to see the movie and edited a trailer together. What the Snyder Cut announcement might be, but we're getting it for real now, and that's
Yeah.
just crazy. And it's just if you're in the fandom, particularly the DC fandom, even if you're not necessarily in the Snyder Cut fandom, if you're a DC fan, this is such a fantastic time to be, in that, kind of into DC comic book movies.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's just a great time to be a fan of Zack Snyder and be a fan of DC. It still feels unreal. And I made a post on Reddit a few days ago. Like I said, I couldn't be more happier for Zach, his family, the fans that again believe, persevered, never compromised, never surrendered, and just continued to passionately hashtag it. And just to know that it's coming. I don't even have the proper adjective to describe it because it probably wouldn't be an epic enough adjective to describe it. But it's just amazing that it's happening. That HBO Max, AT&T, and Jason Kilar and the other people involved. They said, yeah, let's reward the fans for their good faith, and let's show them that yes, we care about their voice too. And it honestly reminds me of the quote in The Dark Knight. Sometimes people deserve to have their good faith rewarded, and our good faith was rewarded, and more importantly, Zack Snyder and his family will have justice when this movie comes out next year. Um, speaking of AT&T and HBO Max, brother Fran, man, since the announcement, they have been very, very welcoming and attentive and appreciative on social media, whether it's in regards to lightly teasing hints about the air cut or whether it's just promoting in general. They've been very attentive. What and very welcoming. What's your thought on that, man?
Well, I mean, it's. I mean, I'm really happy to see it, but it's kind of shocking. For example,
Yeah,
like accounts like the BBS one that hadn't been used in like 3 years, I think. Suddenly they are tweeting almost every week or so. It's like, wow, they are starting to understand that there's a big fan base for these movies and that there's nothing to be ashamed of. Because
yeah,
before it looked like, oh, we are not going to use these accounts because people hate these movies, so we better not talk about them and that's it. But right now they are like, well, I don't know. I think that the world has proven that these movies have a huge fan base, and seeing them interact with people, and maybe they are bots, maybe they are not. I don't give a fuck. Like you can tag them and you're like, hey, listen, thank you very much for releasing the Snyder Cut. I can't wait to see it. And they're like, oh, thank you, and this and that. It's like, even if it's an automated response, it's kind of, I don't know, it's nice to finally, after 3 years of no response at all, like, because nothing, they were saying nothing to the Snyder Cut people. Like, if you think about it, yeah, there was talks about it, there was articles, there were the news sites talking about it, but Warner
mhm,
Bros. Never talked about it once publicly. And
mhm,
now seeing them welcome Snyder, welcome the cut, welcome the fans, being happy about it, hyping it up. I don't know, it feels surreal, but it's, as I said, it's the kind of reality that I want to live in. Although I may know, I might not believe it 100% because it's kind of surreal. It's so amazing to see. Like Warner Media, they are all the time like, oh yeah, can't wait for the trailer or can't wait for DC Phantom, and they are responding to Zack Snyder with hearts or can't wait or this is so awesome and things like that. It's like we've missed that. I mean, I don't know. I think that we as fans of Snyder, we've missed that. I can't find the word. Like, mm, I can't find the word or whatever. Like that welcoming of, yeah. I mean, you're a fan of these movies. come with us. Like everyone can be a fan or whatever. We are all DC fans.
Yeah.
Like we've kind of been left out by Warner Brothers for 3 years. Like no one even addressed us. So right now when they do, it's like finally, like I feel welcomed here, and I don't have to be ashamed of enjoying the movies that I enjoy.
Facts. And to add, I'd like to hope that it's in large part due to some of the negativity they seen spewed, not just in the direction of these movies, but labeling the entire, seemingly the labeling of the entire fandom as being quote unquote toxic and being bad and this, that, and the third. You know, them just even doing what you mentioned, Fran, that really makes it seem like they care about not just one side of DC, but all of the DC fans. So, it, like you said, man, I agree. That's completely nice of them to do. Brother Jordan, man, what's your thought on AT&T, HBO Max, and as Fran said, Warner Media being very welcoming and attentive and appreciative on social media?
It's so awesome. Like,
Facts.
kind of like Fran said, for the last few years, they've been totally ignoring us, totally ignoring their fans, which is crazy. It's like these are the people that love your product and want you guys to be as successful as you can be, and
Mm-hmm.
love these movies, love these characters, and they had been ignoring them for such a long time, and that just seems weird. And their business decisions, their kind of their plans for the movies were all predicated on what the haters wanted them.
Right.
And you can never please the haters because they're just hating to hate, and you're never going to please them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was probably a shock to them because Warner Brothers came out of the Dark Knight movies with absolute praise and acclaim from critics, fans, everyone essentially. Um, so to have like the DC universe start off so rocky, and have pretty much no acclaim from critics, or 50-50 divide with critics, they were probably like, well, this is weird. Obviously, we should listen to the critics.
Right.
And I'm so glad that they have decided not to listen to the critics, not to listen to the bloggers, not to listen to the blue check marks, the dumb YouTubers. It's like, no, because whenever you try to cater to those people, your product is going to suffer. The fans won't be happy, and no one's going to be happy. So we're not going to listen to them. We're going to listen to the fans, and that I think speaks volumes to us, and that means a lot to us because at the end of the day, the critics and the critics and the bloggers and the check marks, they don't matter at all. What matters is your fans and who's actually going to pay attention and who are you making this for, because it doesn't make sense, for Warner Brothers to try to cater after some, random dude who's just gonna shit on whatever they do. That doesn't make sense. And so I'm so happy that they've turned around and that they started listening to fans. And unfortunately, that probably means an even bigger backlash from the bloggers and critics to a certain extent. But whatever, dude, like we won. They're just upset that they've realized that they don't have any more power over Warner Brothers. And they're upset that we're getting what we want, even though it doesn't affect them whatsoever. They're just being bitter and angry and lonely, and they're losers. That's if you're angry or upset by the idea of the Snyder Cut or DC listening to the fans, then just get a life. Like, it's not toxic. It was toxic, 3 years ago when they were bullying Zack Snyder, and it's toxic every single day when I go on Reddit or YouTube, like a popular YouTube critic, and in the comments it's always like, at least this is better than Zack Snyder. Or it's toxic when, even after news of the tragedy that happened to Snyder's family, even after that, people still had the just indecency to bully him and criticize him and use his daughter as a joke. That's bullying. Fans asking, hey, please release this cut, that's not bullying. That's not bullying at all. But what's bullying is being mean and angry and this kind of toxic discourse that has sprung up in film criticism, where it's kind of this sheep herd mentality, where it's like either you're good or you're bad, and it all depends on what the majority says, and that's just dumb and stupid. So I am very happy that Warner Brothers is listening to the fans and just not paying attention to the haters or any of those losers.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Buddha. Thank you, Confucius. Thank you, Mulan. Thank you, Zeus. Thank you. Just thank you. I agree with both Fran and Joy, man. Everything they said.
Yeah,
And
and
go
just
ahead, Fran. Go
to,
ahead.
to add to what Jordan said, like when people or news articles, like for example, Collider, say, the Snyder Cut releasing sets a bad precedent, or they've bullied a studio into doing what the fans like. Oh my God, that's so horrible, right? Like, we aren't the ones who give them the money, so we have our right to demand what we want, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's so evil. Like, you go to McDonald's and you're like, hey, can I have French fries? And the cashier is like, oh my God, I cannot believe it. He asked for French fries. It's not like I am a company and I am here to offer things that the customer wants and requests. And not only that, like, for example, it's not surprising that Collider is against the Snyder Cut when one of their head writers wrote on Twitter in 2013 that Zack Snyder was a self-hating you. Yikes. I don't know how that guy still has a professional career, but whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, they bullied Warner Brothers. Oh, so you mean that people writing release the Snyder Cut on Twitter is bullying a multi-million dollar company that has, that is worldwide, that it's international, that doesn't even care about anything, that they have enough money to whatever they want. They make hundreds of movies a year, and we are bullying them. Listen, we are just asking on Twitter with a hashtag and flying banners over Warner Brothers. They are a multi-million corporation, and we are bullying them because we put hashtag release the Snyder Cut. How the fuck are we bullying such a big company? Like, doesn't make any sense. It's not like we are throwing Molotov cocktails at Warner Brothers and making riots. That would be bullying, but tagging Warner Brothers with 7 million followers that they probably have the notifications of saying, please release the Snyder Cut, is bullying. And one of your head writers wrote that he was a self-hating you,
Yeah.
and that's not bullying. Shut the fuck up. Just for a moment, like, don't be such hypocrites or whatever how that's said.
Yeah.
But don't, because it's so in the nose. Like, from far away, you're like, okay, yeah, I know in which side you are on, and I know that I'm not going to be able to change your mind because you're already so hateful that even if I try to be reasonable with you, you're not going to listen. So you do you, but I'm going to try and expose, I hate that word, but expose what some of your writers have said in the past.
Facts. I think the thing for me in regards to how they've been welcoming, attentive, and appreciative is just, man, there'd be days when I'd be tweeting or I'd be writing a script for a video or I'd be, seeing you, Brother Jordan, or you, Fran, or Brother Jabril Ramsey, or other people just tweeting and saying, hey, this Superman means a lot to me, or this movie means a lot to me, or Zack Snyder, changed my life, or Zack Snyder's movies mean a lot to me. Could you please release the Snyder Cut, or please hashtag release the Snyder Cut AT&T. Man, sometimes I get so sad because I see so many people, not just me, but so many people hashtagging and tweeting. And for the longest, bro, I get really sad because it seemed like they weren't listening, man. And, to see all I hate to keep going back to the negativity, but you both know it's been a lot. It's been hell. People even having, like you said earlier, Jordan, the audacity to bring up Zack Snyder's own daughter just because they don't like his movies. like there's a fine line between, you know, not liking something and just being a pure asshole. And when you do something like that, you're an asshole and a poor sorry excuse for a human being just in my opinion. So man, just to see AT&T and, you know, Warner Brothers, HBO Max, you know, acknowledging us and, you know, being as excited as we are, it just, to me, it just really means a lot. It shows that, yes, they do care and they want everybody, whether they are a fan of Zack Snyder's DC, whether they are a fan of, you know, DC on the CW, whether they're a fan of DC Universe, I don't know if they necessarily believe in unity, but I think they want us all to feel like we matter. I think they want us all to feel like we're of some importance, and that it just really means a lot. Um, damn. With that being said, brother Fran, man, now I made a video earlier this week. In the past, when I make videos about Superman, I tend to get volcanic, as both of you and Jordan know. Normally, I can go 12 rounds like I'm in the ring with Floyd Mayweather, but I decided to stay calm in this video and just lay the facts out as I see them. And yet again, on June 14th, we saw that there was these snide comments and these snide remarks, not just from random people on Twitter, but from comic creators like Dan Slott, who wrote wrote a run on the Silver Surfer, and other popular blue checks. Why is there, in your opinion, still such a mass divide on how Superman should be portrayed, Fran?
I mean, one word: nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the best and the worst sentiments that you can have. It's one of
Mm-hmm.
the best sentiments that you can have because it brings you back to a time in your life where you were happy and you enjoyed that. So that brings a nice feeling to you. But it also have the negative side, that is that you can't accept new stuff. I mean, it's not only with movies. Like, for example, if you are nostalgic of a certain, for example, if your team 10 years ago was really, really good, you're like, oh God, like 10 years ago, we were unstoppable. And by doing that, you're like not paying attention that there were mistakes, not paying attention that there were things that didn't work. But right now, because you think you're not in the same spot, you're like, oh, this is so awful. I hate this. This is my team. So with Superman, it's the same stuff. Like in the 78 movie, yeah, it's a great movie for its time, and I can understand that people relate to that Superman. But I think that the nostalgia blinds people from understanding that that movie happened 40 years ago, that it has its problems like any other movie, and it's not as perfect as people make it to be. I mean, I haven't watched the old Superman movies, but I've seen scenes from it, and you can see stuff like, what was it in Superman 2? Like, Clark uses the X-ray vision to see, what was it? Lois' panties or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that people like jump over, like, oh, that's not there, yeah, that Superman was great. It's like, no, it has its mistakes as any other movie. Stop glorifying the past, especially when the future is not that bad. I mean, Man of Steel, for example, it's not a bad movie. I mean, you can't talk about objectiveness in cinema because it's all about opinions. But I personally think that even if you are not a great fan of the movie, you can understand that it's a well-crafted movie, and
Right.
they try to do some new stuff with Superman, with so to make it relatable to new audiences. So yeah, I think that Superman's biggest enemy is nostalgia.
Mm,
People overlook errors that the old movies had, and they overpick errors that the new movies have.
mm, mm. Brother Jordan.
This could be a
I'm
whole
sorry,
video
man.
in itself. This is a big question.
I'm sorry, man.
I think I agree with Fran. I think in short, I agree with Fran. For whatever reason, Superman is an icon. He's as
Mhm.
big, I've heard that the Superman symbol is one of the most recognizable symbols, aside from like the Christian cross or the Star of David, or kind of any other typical symbol. He's not just a character by this point; he is a symbol. He is the first superhero who's created. He was the I would argue that he's the greatest superhero, and he's an icon. And because he's an icon, you get a lot more opinions on what Superman is or who Superman is. And a lot of that is shaped by the 1978 movie. And I think there's a lot of nostalgia for that movie. I think that movie certainly defined the pop culture kind of perception or kind of idea of who Superman is.
Mhm.
And it hasn't grown since then. There's a real desire to see that kind of a movie that's very lighthearted, a movie that is very kind of, I don't want to say cheesy, but kind of cartoony in a way. For the time, the Superman movie at the time was a very kind of cheery and happy movie, in contrast to the very serious things that were going on. It's a movie that pulled off the special effects for the time, and even today, the special effects hold up. And I'm a fan of the movie. I'm of the opinion that you can like multiple different versions of a character. So, but today, really, if you hold the original Superman up to today's kind of standards and kind of our values and where America is, and it just doesn't hold up as well as it does. It's certainly a wonderful time capsule for where we were as a country back then and where we were as a kind of as the world, but that just doesn't work today. Superman, truth, justice, and the American way. The American way right now is like lynching black people in the streets. The American way right now is police going out and shooting journalists right now. That's the American way right now. The American way is a very complicated, tricky thing. And I think particularly in BVS, Snyder expresses that, the political implications of the superhero. What does that look like? And I think people get really uncomfortable with those kind of, I think people go into these movies expecting, the 1978 Donner film.
Or
they go into
MCU,
it expecting the MCU movies, like really happy, really jokey, very kind of popcorn, kind of junk food kind of movie. You go in, you have a good time, you don't think about it too much. Snyder was going for something where you had to think, where you couldn't, it wasn't just enough just to tune out and kind of try to look for the jokes or enjoy the fight scenes, which you can certainly do, I guess, but you're really robbing yourself of the full experience if you're not going into the movie willing to engage with the text and willing to engage with it and have an open mind on what he's trying to say. You can't judge Batman v Superman or Man of Steel. It is absolutely ridiculous and stupid to say those movies aren't good because they're not like the Christopher Reeve movies. That's dumb. That's stupid. You can do that with any movie. The Godfather is stupid because it's not like Iron Man. Gladiator is stupid because it's not like Harold and Maude. Like, you can just go on and on. You can't. It is impossible to compare movies like that. That's such a dumb way to judge movies, and it's just such a problem because people just cannot accept this different version of Superman, who I would argue isn't even that different. I would say that something like Injustice: Gods Among Us, where Superman literally kills the Joker out of just revenge for the death of Lois, that's a pretty drastic kind of turn. And as a Superman fan, I think that's cool, a cool area to explore, but that's not personally like a Superman that I really love and enjoy. Superman Red Sun is also a totally different version of Superman. There's Superman, I think it's Secret Identity, where it's this kind of alternate universe take on Superman. That's totally different version of Superman. In the comic books, we're so it's so easy to accept different versions of this character in the comic books for whatever reason. But when it comes to movies, it has to be like the Christopher Reeve Superman. That's just ridiculous and get out of here. That's dumb. That's stupid. If you think like that, I'm sorry, but that's just, I think you're wrong. I think you're totally wrong. And And again, like Man of Steel, very similar to Superman Earth One, that comic book series that I think J. Michael, I can't say his last name, he wrote. I think, but also he's not depressed. He's not reluctant necessarily. He's not moping all the time. He goes through very real world problems. He experiences bullying. He has to hold back his anger. He has to choose to do the right thing, which is a hard, difficult thing. Why do we pretend every day that doing the right thing is so easy? Because it's not always easy, because our world isn't an easy place to live in. It's not black and white all the time. It's a hard thing to do, to do the right thing and make the right choice a lot of times in our world. And so why do we expect Superman, of all people, who has the powers of a god essentially, who has the powers to move planets, why do we expect him to have such an easy time about everything? Because the world is not a complicated. Yeah, I mean, the world is a complicated place, and it's not black and white. So, why is Superman experiencing everyday real emotions, real problems? Why is that considered dark? I don't get why that's a thing. That's not dark. That's just a reflection of our world today. And if you're not into that, great, cool. Like, that's totally fine. That's your prerogative. But don't. I see this every single day. Don't go online and whine and bitch and moan about just, how Snyder defiled your character, how, he's just, making him this Randian kind of terrible hero who hates people and doesn't want to be a superhero. If that's all you get from the movie, then you don't know how to read movies. I'm sorry, but like, it takes a fairly low level. It doesn't take a lot of intelligence to see what Snyder was going for and to actually read it. And I think what happens is a lot of people see the name Snyder and they tune out. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all they do. They see the name Zack Snyder and they tune out. Because I guarantee you, while there are some valid criticisms that I think you could have on Man of Steel BVS, the response to those movies would not be overwhelmingly negative if his name wasn't on it, which is sad because I think he was trying to do something really special. And I'm happy that he gets to finish it and conclude it. But I can't even remember what the original question is, but, to all you haters out there, just lick my asshole. Snyder's Superman is awesome. I love it. Man of Steel is still the best Superman movie.
Oh, man. Damn. You keep going like this, I'm going to just let you and Fran just have the mic all the time. God damn.
We're going to get taken down by YouTube. Inappropriate content.
Disney doesn't like what we're talking about. Take them down. Take them down. Moving on, brothers. Brother Fran, man, I'll start with you, man. Now, aside from of course, Zack Snyder's Justice League, scream shout out to that epic teaser both you and Jordan mentioned with Diana and the girl showing fucking Darkseid and those Greek words that I cannot decipher. That fuck, that shit is beautiful. I need a bottle of lotion. But anyway, aside from Zack Snyder's Justice League, what movie are you most looking forward to seeing at the fandom event in August?
Well, I don't know. Like, obviously, I mean, Zack Snyder's Justice League, obviously, but probably the Batman, because it's been like such a secretive production. Like, we don't really know anything about it. We just know how the Batmobile and the costume looks, and that's it. Like, we don't know shit about what it is about. We don't know any of the looks of the other characters. Like, we have no idea about nothing. So I'm really, really excited to see what Matt Reeves brings. I mean, he's not going to bring a trailer because they've only shot like 25% of the movie, but I don't know. I'm really excited for it because the rest of the movies, I'm like, Wonder Woman 84. Well, we've already seen a trailer for that. So it's like, well, to kind of know what it is about. The Suicide Squad, I don't give a fuck about that movie. Like, right. I'm probably going to go see it, but I'm not, nothing excited about it. And it's not because it's James Gunn directing, but because there's nothing in it really hypes me up. Like maybe a trailer will, but right now I'm like whatever.
Yeah.
So looking at the rest of the movies, I'm like Zack Snyder's Justice League. Like
Yeah.
Zack Snyder's Justice League and the Batman. I want to see that full-on trailer and make a gif of every fucking single scene of it, like, like I did
Oh
with the
yeah.
teaser. Like I went so fast. Like I opened everything, all the programs so fast, and they were
Mhm.
so slow. And I was like, no, I've gotta be the first one to do it. But no, I need the Zack Snyder's trailer, and I want to see more characters. I want to see how Catwoman looks. I want to see how the Riddler looks. I want to see how the Penguin looks. I want to see everything.
Mhm. Got it. Brother Jordan, man, aside from obviously Zack Snyder's Justice League, which movie are you looking forward to most seeing at the fandom event in August?
Oh man, Justice League is so big, it kind of overshadows everything, in my opinion. Like Fran said,
Facts.
it's just so like. Am I excited for the other stuff? Yeah, sure, but does not compare to my excitement for the Justice League movie. I think Wonder Woman 84 is probably the most excited one. I'm most excited to see. Batman, I'm curious to see what's going to happen. But however, if they decided to do tease a little bit of the air cut, that would also be that would probably get the closest to my excitement for Justice League is if they teased a little bit of the air cut. I'd be super excited about that.
Facts.
Also, maybe the Flash movie because I hear Ray Fisher might be in it.
Mhm.
We don't know, but that's super exciting to me. So, if not counting the Justice League, which is honestly what I'm most hyped for,
Right.
probably Wonder Woman, Flash, air cut, probably.
Facts. For me, obviously, Zack Snyder's Justice League. I will probably, once we get an official trailer, I will probably start back doing trailer reactions. That's my most hype thing. I'm real interested to see more details and hopefully learn more about Black Adam. Now, Dwayne Johnson, aside from Fast Five, I know people are split on him as an actor, but I think there could potentially be something really special there. He's worked with the director in the past, I think on San Andreas or something like that. He's worked with the director in the past though, and I think there's something really special there. And hopefully there's no more with any of the DC movies. I don't care. Again, like Fran, I don't care. I really don't care about Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad, even with Idris Elba being in it. It just looks kind of meh. But yeah. But yeah, Black Adam, I hope they reveal more. They could show the Justice Society of America. And I think and hope that if, we don't get a Man of Steel 2 announcement, that I hope that Henry Cavill's Superman does, aside from Zack Snyder's Justice League, I hope he does appear in Black Adam. That to me would be really, really epic, and it would put a lot of asses in those seats. With that being said, Fran, I want to talk to you about something a little, what many would say personal. Now, a while ago, you mentioned that maybe the Snyder cut was the friends we made along the way, and more recently, no, man, and it was a really, really heartfelt thing, man. It was really, really, really cool. And then you also mentioned earlier, uh, it doesn't matter how many times you tweeted it. If you tweeted hashtag release the Snyder cut, your voice was heard, something along those lines. Um, Man, and in this era, we're so blessed and unfortunately, sometimes cursed with the media, not just social media, but the media in general. Whether that's CNN or whether that's Twitter. With that said, man, what did you mean for those listening when you said the Snyder cut was the friends we made along the way, and it doesn't matter how many times you tweeted hashtag release the Snyder cut?
Well, I mean, with the later one, it's something that I've always thought about. Like, it
Mhm.
wasn't something that I just came up with, like, oh, yeah, this is a good thinking or a good thought. Like,
Mhm.
every time I saw someone new tweet the hashtag, it was like nice, like
Yeah,
listen, one more guy, like little by little, you win the race, and that's what happened. Like when I saw, for example, my brother, like on November 17th, I convinced him to tweet the hashtag. He only tweeted it once, but it's like one more. And then some other guy might have said, hey, to his friend, hey, listen, can you please tweet this? Like it's about this. And the friend's like, oh, yeah, sure. And he tweeted it just once.
yeah,
It's his credit too. Like people are so obsessed with credit. In,
yeah.
I mean, not everyone. Like some people are really obsessed
Mhm.
with credit in the movement. Or like, oh yeah, so if Zack liked my photo, that means that he doesn't like those guys and he likes me because he likes everything that I have to say in this 2.5 hours podcast. Like he's listened to the 2.5 hours and he agrees with everything that I've said. And
Uh-huh.
oh yeah, and yeah, fuck those guys because they haven't done anything for the movement. I've been here from day one and doing this and that.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I've been there too. I was day one tweeting the hashtag, and I was day one as 200,000 people more signed
Yeah,
in the petition. And I've
yeah,
been getting suspended multiple times on Twitter because I tweeted too much, release the Snyder Cut. I got suspended like, I don't know, 5 times, 3 days because they think that I'm a bot. And I've suffered as everyone else through the articles and with the Wall Street article on summer 2018. And that was like, okay, it's never coming out. And I've suffered that with thousands of more people, more people, and thousands of more people have tweeted the hashtag as much as I have, or even more, and hundreds of more people have been making YouTube videos as we do.
yeah,
And some people say like, oh yeah, your gifs were like a crucial part. Well, I appreciate that, but I'm just posting gifs. Like I just did my little tiny part, as so did thousands of people. So don't try and undermine other people's efforts and works to get this thing released. Because why? Because you weren't tweeting a hashtag every single day, because you weren't insulting people who didn't like the movement. Like that was it. I don't know, man. I feel like there's been thousands of us who have been there from day one, tweeting the hashtag as much as we can, making videos every time we could, making gifs, making edits, doing whatever we could. And
mm-hmm.
when the movie got released, we were like, we did it, and everyone was so happy. And I don't think that any of us or any of thousands of people were like, oh no, listen, on November 17th, I tweeted the hashtag 27 times, and this guy only tweeted it 24. Like, fuck this guy. I am the one who is responsible to get this thing released. It's like, no, let's just be happy. Everyone did their efforts. I don't understand the gatekeeping. I don't understand the hate and the continuous need to get credit for something that thousands of more people have done, and in a better way because they haven't been toxic. It's something that I can't really comprehend.
Yeah. And of course, brother Jordan, I'll let you chime in. But yeah, man, here's the thing, like it's simple. Like we're all a fan of Zack Snyder. We're all a fan of BVS. BVS means different things to different people. Man of Steel means different things to different people. Watchmen, Sucker Punch, 300, they all mean different things to different people. Zack, as we've seen, is a very generous, a very humble, and one of the, if not probably, is the nicest guy in Hollywood, given how Hollywood is continuously getting exposed day after day. It seems he is probably the nicest guy in Hollywood. Um, we're all fans of his movies. They're and a lot of us are have Vero. Zach follows some people, he likes their posts, some people he likes their videos, some people he responds to their comments. This man is followed by well over 300,000 people on Vero. He can't respond to everybody one by one every single day. So this whole thing about clout chasing and trying to see scapegoat and see who's who and point fingers and accuse, bro, it's not that serious, bro. Like, unity is one of the main things of Justice League, and it shouldn't just be when there's a main event or when there's trying to get attention. It should be every day. There's no reason to be picking fights over senseless things, that at the end of the day don't even matter, because we're here for Zack Snyder's Justice League. And you know I don't really understand why there's still this seeming need to call people out or point fingers, yada yada yada, when it's over stupid things. Because at the end of the day, most of us are grown-ups. I hope most of us are grown-ups. So it's just really a fascinating thing. I'd hope that we'd all be celebrating hashtag release that Zack Snyder's Justice League is being released, and just move on from there. Now, with bullying and all that, yeah, that's wrong. That does need to be addressed, and that does need to be brought to the light so people know that this person is bad. But at the end of the day, we shouldn't be focused on who Zach follows, who Zach likes, whose post Zach likes, and all that, this and the third. It's really stupid. We're here to celebrate this man's movie. We're here to talk about his movie. We're not here to worry about who he follows and who he likes. We're fans first, and that's it. We love his movies. We enjoy movies. That's all that really truly matters. And with that being said, Brother Jordan, I know I'll probably just be talking in circles, so the mic is yours, man.
It's I think you guys have said a pretty good, actually. I think what I'll add is just like when you elect a president, or when you elect a governor or mayor or whoever, doesn't matter if you're out there protesting, or if you're out there like campaigning for the guy or the girl, if you were out there in the streets handing out flyers, vote for this person, doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, everybody only voted once, and that's what counts. And it's not like, it's like what Fran said, like, you've just tweeted it once. That little bit helped us that much. It's like, it's all of us working together. It wasn't like one of us, like, I don't think Zack cares if you tweeted it like 1,000 times. I don't think like necessarily or if you tweeted it only once. I think he just appreciates any level of support, and I don't know why you try to get credit for this when it's so clearly group effort, and clearly it was Zack. What he would like, if anyone's to get any kind of credit, it would be Zack, I would think. For his support of us and his kind of just little help along the way. But I don't think he was any one of us in particular. And again, like, I don't know why you use this for clout chasing. That's just ridiculous. I don't, honestly, like, we've already won. We're getting the movie. I don't care like how many times Fran tweeted it or you tweeted or I tweeted it. Like, we're getting the movie. We won. That's what matters. Let's not fight about who deserves what credit. At the end of the day, Zack deserves, the credit for the most part. Him and the fans as the collective group, not any one fan, but as a group. So to the clout chasers, you're just crazy. I don't know what you're doing. Just stop.
But
that's all I gotta say.
Thanks. Man, we're about to close. Thank you all so much for tuning in the audience, and thank you, Brother Fran and Brother Jordan, for joining in. I want to talk a little bit about Ray Fisher and Cyborg. We've seen a lot of Ray Fisher recently, whether that's him being on a stream with, I believe his name was the Nice Cast, or whether that's him just being on Twitch. A lot of people want to see him continue to be Victor Stone beyond Zack Snyder's Justice League, and for good reason. Reasoning, his enthusiasm and his energy is just electric. And Cyborg, I think, is a character that does deserve his own solo movie and deserves, to have more than just his more have more appearances aside from just Zack Snyder's Justice League. Um, Brother Fran, man, are you excited to potentially see him in the Flash movie directed by Andy Muschietti?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see where they develop the character coming from Zack Snyder's Justice League, but I am also really excited because of Ray Fisher. Like, not only him as an actor, because he's a really good actor, but because I think that he deserves this second chance at the character.
Mhm.
Like, he got into Hollywood in one of the worst disasters that a movie could ever get. Like in hit, like just the Justice League theatrical cut, I think it's going down on history. Not only because of how bad the movie is and all the technical problems that are clearly visible, but because all the drama that happened behind the scenes. So having such talent and being introduced to Hollywood in such a way, I think that is really, really unfair. So I hope that he can appear in as much movies as he can because
Mhm.
he really deserves it. I think that he's a great choice for Cyborg. I can't wait to see his acting in Zack Snyder's Justice League because I think it's going to be amazing. And I think that he, as a person, really deserves the treatment of getting multiple movies.
Facts. I agree. And hopefully that is the case. Brother Jordan, man, what's your thought on Ray Fisher and Cyborg? What would you like to see?
I'm super excited. And it brings me back to the day. Remember when they announced the slate a long time ago for the DC movies? I think there was a Cyborg Flash team up movie in there. There was a Flash movie, but there was also a Cyborg Flash team up movie, which, it seems, whatever the Flash movie is, it's definitely changed over the years. But I'm totally excited to see Ray Fisher in as Cyborg again. I think he's such a great actor. He's such a great dude. He seems very down to earth and very humble and just very selective in a way that you don't see a lot of actors. A lot of actors just, they take whatever roles they can get, but he seems very, one of those kinds of actors who will only do a project if his heart's really in it and if he really believes in the project. So to see him, in the Cyborg movie would, to me at least, kind of tell me that this is, if you're worried about the quality of the movie at all, if Ray Fisher is in it, you know that it's not going to be just a dumb kind of comic book movie. He's going to bring a level of kind of weight and seriousness and kind of a good message to it along with that role. So I'm super excited to see him in it.
Yeah, same. Brother Fran, man, is there any character from Man of Steel that you love to see make a surprise return in Zack Snyder's Justice League?
That I want to have a surprise return or that I know that is going to have a surprise return?
Oh, either or, man.
I mean, no, it's the public one. It's General Swanwick being
Mhm.
Martian Hunter. That's what I know. And I mean, I'm really excited for that cameo because of the implications that it has for the future.
Mhm.
If Zack gets to do JL2, maybe he's a hero. I mean,
Mhm.
that will be like the ultimate Justice League. Like we would have the 8 symbols that are in the hoodie, in the Zack Snyder's Justice League hoodie. You have the 6 from the movie, and then you have Green Lantern and Martian Manhunter. So I
Right,
would like to see that. And
right.
yeah, I mean, James, for example, said Jor-El. Yeah, I, I mean, if this happens in the movie, I will be completely blown away. If when he's doing Flight 2.0, he gets a different, let's say, a different. Well, I'm forgetting all the words all of a sudden. A speech. If he gets
Right.
a different speech from the one from Man of Steel
Mm-hmm.
with Jor-El's voice because he's connected to the ship, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That might happen. Like, and he gives in a different speech of, you are now part of the towards Clark, and I've seen what you've done, and you have become a great man, and it's your time to shine and to help these people, and something like that. I would be like, oof. And if those supposed leaks are true, when supposedly Kevin Costner appears in the Kent farm, when
Mm-hmm.
he's like with the corn and he talks about, you are you have to decide what kind of man you're going to become, Clark, and all those kind of things that they talked about on Man of Steel. Either two, I mean, even if only one of those appears in the movie, I will be completely blown away because it will be expanding the universe, but the themes that have been talked about through all the movies that have come before. So
Right.
I hope that at least one of the two come back for
Right.
Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Brother Jordan, man, are there any characters? I said, is there any characters? Are there any characters from Man of Steel that you love to see make a surprise return in Zack Snyder's Justice League?
Um, yeah. So like, there's so many. But like, there's some that we know are going to come back, right? Like we know Martian Manhunter is going to be in it. We
Mm-hmm.
know that a Green Lantern is probably going to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
We know that Lex Luthor is probably going to have a much bigger role. Same with Slade Wilson. But what
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited about, which would be this would be the highlight of like the biggest cameo that I could think of that I would be most excited by, which she hinted at, Feora. If
Yes.
Feora came back, because I absolutely love Man of Steel. I love the villains in that movie. And Feora, I would love to see her go against the Justice League and go against Kal-El again and Wonder Woman and just everybody. I want to see what that would look like. Because, he hinted at during one of the commentaries, I can't remember exact wording, but he said something along the lines of like, he said that like he thinks that he likes to think that they're still alive in the Phantom Zone and maybe they could come back, which might be cool to see down the line or something. So yeah, like I think that would be the highlight for me, the biggest kind of surprise for me, which might happen, might not happen. We don't know. I mean, Ray Fisher didn't say anything at all. I mean, not Ray Fisher, Ray Porter.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say anything at all about being Darkseid, and that didn't come out till a few years after the movie came out. And if you look at the actress who plays Feora, she made a kind of little hint about returning. I think sometime within the last 6 months or so. I can't remember exactly, but not everybody teases everything, and so it's very possible that she could have filmed a cameo role for the movie and they just didn't use it and she's been quiet about it. Or it could be possible that she's training and the plan was to get her back in the gym and get her back into shape for playing Feora just for a little bit. So we don't know, but I think that would be the most exciting one for me.
Right. Now, with all that we know is going to be shown at the fandom, whether that's The Batman, Wonder Woman 1984, that movie by James Gunn, Zack Snyder's Justice League going to be the highlight, and probably others. What do you think, brother Fran, that we should expect a Man of Steel 2 announcement?
Well, I mean, if Henry Cavill appeared in Zack's stream and then his representative said exciting things coming or something like that, she said on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have no idea, but I would count on something maybe being talked about, because Grace Randolph said that maybe in a couple of weeks we will know that he's negotiated a new contract and that he's going to make cameos in all those movies. And I mean, I don't know about a Man of Steel 2, but if Zack Snyder's Justice League is successful and they give money to Zack to make the Ale 2, for example, he will need to be there and he will need to be Superman again. It might not be his idolized version that he wants to do in a Man of Steel 2, but he would still play Superman in a full-on movie, not just a cameo. So I don't know. I'm just excited for the future. It feels like the last 4 years didn't happen, and that we are again on summer 2016, and that everything is right with the DCU.
Facts. This is probably the most excited I've been as a DC fan. It's just amazing to see all that's coming. With that being said, it looks like in the next stream I'm gonna have to get some moderators because we got guys like David Brown in the chat talking shit and being here for no other reason but to talk shit. David Brown, if you're not here to be positive or talk about Zack Snyder or the DC characters in a positive way, go watch some other stream. Go watch something else. Go watch Teletubbies on PBS or go watch some Disney Channel original movie. Don't come back to my stream, bro. And with that being said, Brother Jordan, do you think we should expect a Man of Steel sequel announcement at the fandom event?
I don't know. I could go either way. I could see it where they want to get ahead of it and they see the value in Henry, and so they want to announce it. I could totally see that being the case, but I could also see it being the case of them, them wanting to wait until the Snyder Cut's released and they just want to test the waters with cameos, with Henry Superman and other movies. Either way, I'm excited because that just means more Henry Cavill Superman. I do think eventually we will get another Man of Steel movie. I think the Zack Snyder Superman or Zack Snyder's Justice League, that movie's going to be huge. That's going to be a ginormous movie.
Yeah.
And if Superman has if he's as important as we all suspect he is, which he probably is, people are going to be interested in Superman again, because the entire movie, it seems like, or a big part of the movie is about bringing Superman back. So he's kind of like this holy grail, this kind of MacGuffin that's driving the plot forward. The whole plot is about making him important. Think about Star Wars Force Awakens. Do you know how important Luke Skywalker was in that movie, even though he was only in it for less than a minute? Like, his role and his presence is so important in that movie. And I feel like Henry Cavill Superman is going to be a similar thing, where his role is going to be this kind of thing that you can't wait to see, that's going to be really hyped up within the movie. And then when you see him, it's going to just be amazing, and people are going to want to see more of that. So I think after the movie comes out, I do think at some point we'll get a Man of Steel 2. Either we're going to get a Man of Steel 2 or we're going to get the continuation of Snyder's Justice League, because his Justice League movies might contradict. Man of Steel 2 might kind of be irrelevant if he's doing another Justice League movie, or finishing his trilogy or whatever it is. We just don't know. But at the end of the day, we're getting more Henry Cavill Superman, so that just makes me excited. So I'm good with whatever.
Facts. Hopefully, both of you guys are right. And after Zack Snyder's Justice League, if we don't know anything by the end of this year, and I don't know why, but I feel like we will, hopefully they just go ahead and say, yeah, he's going to be in Black Adam, and also we're going to do another solo film, or ideally they just, continue with Zack Snyder and let him finish his 5-arc plan. But I'm sure they're taking things one day at a time in those regards. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of the stream. I left a link to Brother Jordan Ross and Brother Fran's Twitter in the description. It is also Brother Fran's birthday tomorrow, so you all go wish him a happy birthday on his respective Twitter. And with that being said, in the words of myself, do not get triggered like David Brown. In the words of Jordan Ross, keep licking my asshole. And in the words of Fran, stay woke. Bye.